Alright!
Today you'll learn the basics of animation in Unity. Let's get started. First, let's add a cube in our blank scene. I'll reset its transform and place the camera so that we can see it properly in the game view. This looks pretty good. So to add animation to our cube, first let's enable the animation window from the Windows option. And I'll place it beside the console window. Now select the cube and hit create. Name the animation whatever you want. And hit the record button to start recording. Now in the keyframes, let's go forward to about 30 frames and change the scale of the cube to 5 on the x-axis. Let's add another keyframe at 60 and here we'll resize the cube to 1 again. And there we go. We have our animation ready. You can hit the play button and see how it will look like in action. Great. Now let's bring it back to 0 by clicking the record button again. In the project window you can see we have two new objects, the animation and its controller. If you double click on the controller, the Animator controller window will open up. This is where we control our animations by adding different logics. By default, the first animation you create will be attached to the entry logic, which means that this animation will now be played when the game starts, just like the idle animations in different games. So let's check that out. And we have our animation working. Now when you select an animation in the controller window, you can see these different options in the inspector window. There's also a speed variable. Let's try setting the speed to 2, and if I hit play, our animation speed just doubled. Just like this, there are these different options, feel free to mess around with them, as you can always undo the actions using Ctrl Z, just a reminder. And also I'll provide the link to Unity's documentation on animation in the description. Now let's add some transition logic between our animations. For that, let's delete our animation and using the right click, we'll create a new empty state. And now this empty animation will be attached to the entry logic of our cube. So if I hit play, you can see the default animation is empty. Now we can drag and drop our animation back to the controller. And using the right click, we'll make a transition between the empty animation and our animation. And if I click on the transition arrow, I can add some conditions to it. To create some conditions that will switch animation from one to another, we use something called a parameter. In the top left of the controller, click on the plus icon and you'll see different parameters available. For now, let's go with a bool and I'll name it play bool. Now select the transition arrow and hit the plus icon and it will automatically detect our bool. You can always change the parameters using the drop down in case you have more than one parameters. And for the value, let's keep it to true for now, which means when our play bool is true, the animation should play. Now let's create a script to control the bool. And I'll drag and drop the script on the cube. In the script, we can start by declaring an animator. I'll name it anim. And in the update function, if the player presses the space button, we'll access our animator and set the bool we created to true. Make sure the spelling of the bool is same as we wrote in the animator. Save the script and in Unity, let's assign the cube's animator to the script. And if I hit play, nothing happens, but when I press the space button, our animation starts. It's working fine, but there are two problems here. First, there's a delay between the input and the animation. And second, we can go back to the idle animation once our animation starts to play. So let's fix that. In the controller, we'll make another transition, but this time from our main animation to the idle animation. And for the condition, we'll set the bool to false. Now in the script, let's add an else statement where we'll set our bool to false. And instead of using get key down, we'll just use get key. Again, just a reminder, get key down works when a key is pressed, get key up works when a key is released, and get key works when a key is held down. So our code now means if we are holding down the space button, the bool will be set to true, and the moment it's released, the bool will go back to false. Save the script, and in Unity, if I hit play, the cube switches animations depending if the space button is held down or not. Great, now let's also fix our second problem of delayed input. To do that, just uncheck the has exit time box on the transition, and again if I hit play, it's working perfectly fine. Now for a fact I know that if you are a beginner, you will be needing these kind of easy and fast tutorials, so why not press the red button.